Hello all, welcome to another episode. My lips are moving a little bit slow. I was just outside. Welcome to another episode of the Spaniard Show. This is AMXbooks 653. The book I'm currently reading is American Wife by Taya Kyle. Incredible book. I actually finished it, so I read ahead a little bit. It's just an awesome book. I'm going to tell you why it's an awesome book, but I encourage you, get these books. Don't just consume learning secondhand through me. I'm doing well, Sam. Let's get out there and read some books, folks. All of them are on my website. Dread, welcome. Very excited. I'll be seeing one, Dread, today. Driving home to speak at an elementary school, talking to a bunch of fourth graders about reading and books. Sharing some of the wonderful books that I've read and discussed on the show. So today we are going to hop in again to American Wife by Taya Kyle. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Spaniard Show. This is the Spaniard, and this is AMXbooks 653. The book we're currently studying is American Wife by Taya Kyle. This is the autobiography. This is the autobiography of Chris Kyle, American Sniper's wife, Taya Kyle, but it's also an exploration of his life and their lives together. So today I'm going to talk about the type of person Chris was. So again, I'm getting this from the book, and whenever I talk about military or when I talk about people who have passed away, I want to do my utmost to speak accurately and with respect. And actually, I would encourage you all, listen to the AMX Kids episode that came out yesterday on Tuesday. It's AMX Kids 28. It's a tremendous episode. It's about a kid's book, I Love You Like, whose author, Scott Sutton, had recently passed away. The book is a tribute to his son. But it's an incredible book, so please check that out. Check that episode out as well and get yourself a copy of that book, I Love You Like. But today we're talking about Chris Kyle, and as a person, Taya describes him as being genuine and authentic. She says, quote, he tried to hide his intellectual intelligence, but he couldn't hide his EQ, or his emotional intelligence. He was really good with people, and that's part of the reason post-military that he focused and dedicated himself to helping other veterans who weren't handling the transition as well as he. She goes on to say, part of the reason I wanted Chris in my life was that he had such a zest for things. He was exuberant about even the simplest of things. Everything he did brought me energy and cheer. Now think of that. I'm going to give you some further examples here in a minute, but why would I say that? Why would I point out, why would I extract from the book this quote, that part of the reason Taya wanted Chris in her life was that he had such a zest for things. He was exuberant about even the simplest of things. Everything he did brought me energy and cheer. What theme do I talk about on a regular basis? What theme did I mention there that's one of the most important themes across all the books that I read? Energy. The energy that you have and the energy that you can bring unto other people. As per Scott Adams, energy is the most important metric to track. Kevin Hart, you remember me reading, I Can't Make This Up by Kevin Hart? You remember me reading that he learned while selling shoes that he could be the guy with the most energy and that people like that? That realization set him on a path that now makes him one of the biggest stars in the world. It is that of energy. John Gordon, who wrote the book, The Energy Bus. Don't be an energy vampire. Don't suck the energy out of other people. Don't be a Debbie Downer. And then lastly, as I was sitting here this morning reviewing and prepping, I remembered our friend George Pocock. Remember George Pocock from The Boys in the Boat? George Pocock was our boat builder, our shell builder. He was also our kind of Mr. Miyagi, or our shaman, or our advisor and our mentor. You remember me talk about him and his lifelong pursuit of the ideal. That's it. Lifelong pursuit of the ideal. I'm sharing the type of person that Chris Kyle was so that you and I can aspire to retain those characteristics in ourselves so that we can elevate those around us. Remember, all ships rise in a high tide. It's up to each one of us. Remember, no one's in charge yet. Somehow we're all in charge. Moving on, as a SEAL, and this is talking more about Chris, as a SEAL, he certainly knew dark times, but he could go from darkness to light with a hearty laugh and zero flat. I found myself smile. I was inspired. I was touched reading about him because just that idea he could go from darkness to light with a hearty laugh and zero flat. That's the kind of person I want to be around, and that's the kind of person I want to be. Look, the most beneficial. So I'm reading this book, American Wife. I'm doing as much work that I can with military. I'm talking to veterans, having them on my show, getting insight. Look, I've never straight talked to a military spouse. Okay, I've always talked to the military man or woman. Talking to their spouse, or reading from the perspective of the spouse, learning about all of the things that she and they went through together, that adds perspective and that adds understanding. The most beneficial result of all of this, interacting with, talking to, reading about veterans and military families, is understanding them. Understanding that they're people like you and me, even Navy SEALs. Even Navy SEALs. If you're anything like me, you put Navy SEALs up on a pedestal. You put Special Forces up on a pedestal. You put military leaders, men and women, you put them up on a pedestal because they're the best of the best. I was a fist fighter, but they actually fight for freedom. They fight life and death. And that's something beyond what the average person knows anything about. So when you're able to talk to them, read about them, interact with them, you realize, wow, they're doing these extraordinary things, and they're people like you and me. It's all kinds of goodness to your soul to learn about those things. They have feelings, and they have fears, and they have children, and they have wives, and they have husbands, and they have bills, and they have mortgages, and they have to worry about all of these things that you and I have to worry about. I encourage you to interact with and learn from veterans and military men and women as much as possible. And the last thing I want to throw at you today is a reminder of the selflessness and perspective. So selflessness and perspective are huge themes in this book. The selflessness of both Chris and Taya throughout this book. She says this, and this is talking about when Chris is deployed, when he's overseas. She says this, quote, "I thought he was nervous because he was going to war and was afraid that he would die. Years later, he straightened me out." And this is Chris now saying, I was afraid you wouldn't be there when I came back. So she's worried that he's afraid that he would leave her and that he would die. And he's thinking, I'm afraid you're not going to be there when I get back. She says, as time went on, I thought I had to, listen to the selflessness of this. As time went on, I thought I had to pretend that I was never worried or concerned. That would surely unsettle him. Taking his mind off what he was doing could be fatal. A worried wife is a distraction no fighter needs. So these are characteristics that I believe that I'm going to teach to my kids, that I'm recording today so my kids can hear someday to understand this. That these are characteristics I believe in, and I believe that we should all embody. The selflessness of Taya Kyle to say, I didn't want him to know I was worrying about him because that would distract him and he's in a war zone. And so I'm going to keep all of this bottled inside of me and I'm not going to bother him with it at all. I mean, that's selfless. That takes strength and that takes courage. And we're going to read later that she's not invincible. She has her faults, and she's very forthright and open about those faults. But I thought today was a great example of these traits. You know, I talk about this lifelong pursuit of the ideal. I talk about energy. I talk about this zest and zeal for life and getting up there and living. And as per the Patriot Tour, to help people live a rich and vibrant life. These themes are pertinent and common in this book. Get a copy of it, American Wife, on Amazon or by way of my website, charliespaniard.com/reading list. Everything I do is on my website, links to my podcast on Apple, on iTunes, or whatever podcast app you're using. Just search out Spaniard Show. We're up to 101 reviews. That's pretty cool. We could use 100 or 5,000 more. So if you have a minute and you'd like to go leave a review, that would be awesome. All my speaking programs, all my links to my book, the book reading list, it's all on charliespaniard.com. See you, folks. There we are, my friends. There we are, my friends. Another AMX. Another AMX. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I encourage you all to come back every morning at facebook.com/CharlieSpaniard for live streams, youtube.com/CharlieSpaniard for rewatching the videos, and subscribe on iTunes. That's it, my friends. I will see you mañana.